So we are thinking, and we were thinking yesterday about loving others during the lockdown, and thinking about how God's love is the pattern for the way that we love. God loved his enemies, and we too should love all those that we come into contact with. But did you know this? You can hate somebody from a distance, but to love someone, you have to get up close and personal in your thinking, if not physically. If you hate someone, you want to banish them from your thoughts. You don't care if they die in a ditch. You don't care what happens to them. You're not bothered about their suffering. Cold, dispassionate indifference. So as well as acts of aggression and unkindness, hatred is also a dish that can be served cold. Like the Pharisee who walked by on the other side in the story of the Good Samaritan, the wrong kind of distancing. On the other hand, if you love someone, what does it make you do if you really love somebody? To help them, to get close to them emotionally and relationally. We read in the Bible that God so loved the world that he did something. He gave his one and only Son. So Jesus left heaven's glory and took on the form of a servant and died a painful and shameful death as he dwelt with us and came in love. He came to the earth. So love is a doing word. It involves getting up close and personal to people, if not physically, and as I said, emotionally and relationally. So on that tack, to use a sailing metaphor, I want to suggest two words that will help us think about loving others during the lockdown. And today, the first word is pursuing. Pursuing people in love. Now by that I don't mean chasing them in the way that a police might chase a criminal, or like the overzealous and a really annoying salesman who pursues you and pushes you to buy a product. I'm thinking about pursuing in the way that Jesus, in the parable, depicted in the parable of the lost sheep, leaves the 99 sheep that is in his care and goes and pursues and finds the sheep that was lost. Intentional seeking out. And the pattern for us pursuing others in love is that Jesus and God pursued us in love. We see this in the Old Testament book of Hosea, when in chapter 11 we see that God, when his people have rejected him, God seeks to woo them back and to turn them back and to follow after them, to bring them back to himself. And as I reflect on that, I realise how much I need the work of the Holy Spirit in my life to give me that passion and love to pursue people in this genuine and authentic way. So let me ask you to think about this during the lockdown, this period where we have to distance ourselves from others. Think about someone perhaps that you need to seek out, either after the lockdown or in some way, even during this lockdown period. Perhaps they shunned you, and to get a bit of revenge, you have shunned them back. Do you need to text someone you have deliberately been ignoring and distancing yourself from them way before the lockdown and say, "Hi, Joe," whoever it was, "I know we haven't talked about things for a while, but hey, let's get together sometime after the lockdown, have a coffee and talk things through." God pursued us in love. We can show that same love in the way that we pursue other people. One thing that I learnt when I worked in mental health is that when people rebuff you the first time, perhaps you ring them and there's no answer, or you call on their door and there's no answer, there is a benefit in pursuing and keeping on persisting, in keeping to contact somebody. There was a guy who I first contacted, and when I started work 9 years ago, and I was given the task of contacting him, and I kept on ringing him, and eventually he answered the phone, and we formed a therapeutic relationship that we were able to meet together for many weeks to help him. So let me encourage you to gently, persistently lovingly pursue people in love during the lockdown. It's risky. It sometimes takes a bit of effort, a bit of thought. So this is my first word on loving others, is pursuing people in love, in the way that God pursued us.